There is a category of behavior that only love produces, not attraction, not deep interest, not genuine care. Love, the specific neurological state that Helen Fisher's brain imaging research describes as activating the same regions as cocaine addiction, produces behavioral outputs that are categorically distinct from everything that precedes it. And the 7 behaviors in this video cannot be produced by anything less than what they indicate. They cannot be performed strategically. They cannot be mimicked by affection that has not reached the specific threshold they require. And they appear, all 7 of them, only in the specific internal state of a woman who has fallen completely, irrevocably, and genuinely in love. This video covers all 7, and the 7th is the one she will not even consciously recognize herself doing. Here is the research that establishes why this list is not a list of nice behaviors. It is a list of neurological inevitabilities. Neuroscientist Helen Fisher at Rutgers University spent decades using fMRI brain imaging to study what happens in the brain when people are genuinely, deeply in love. Her findings were published across multiple peer-reviewed journals and became foundational in the science of romantic love. The conclusion that matters most for this video: genuine love, the specific state she describes as romantic love, is not an emotion. It is a motivational drive. It activates the brain's reward and motivation systems in a way that produces compulsive, involuntary behavioral orientation toward a specific person. This is important because it means the behaviors produced by genuine love are not chosen. They are generated. The woman who is deeply in love with someone does not decide to do the 7 things on this list. She does them because the motivational drive that love produces makes not doing them genuinely difficult. They are the behavioral output of an internal state that operates below conscious decision-making, in the same way that hunger produces food-seeking behavior without a decision being required. The 7 behaviors that follow are the behavioral output of that motivational drive at its most intense. 7 things that appear only at the specific threshold of genuine, consuming love. And each one, when present, is a confirmation more definitive than any verbal declaration she could make. The first thing is this: she defends him to the people she trusts most. This behavior is first on the list because it is the one that most clearly demonstrates the psychological mechanism that genuine love produces. When a woman loves someone completely, her self-concept, the neurological representation of who she is, expands to include him. Aron's foundational self-expansion research at Stony Brook University established that this expansion is not metaphorical. It is neurological. The brain literally begins representing another person as part of the self. Their reputation becomes her reputation. Their dignity becomes something she has a stake in. Their standing in the world feels personally relevant to her own standing. The behavioral output of this self-expansion is protection. She defends him not because she decided to, but because something in her responds to any threat to him the way it would respond to a threat to herself. When someone she trusts says something dismissive, inaccurate, or unkind about him, in a conversation he will never know about, where she has no social reason to risk the friction of defending him, she defends him anyway. This defense is the clearest available evidence of genuine love for a very specific reason. It costs something. She is risking the comfort of the relationship with the person she's talking to in order to protect someone who isn't present and will never know it happened. She does this not for credit, not for his awareness, but because the expansion of self that love produces makes his protection feel like self-protection. When mutual connections mention that she defended him in his absence, in a conversation where she had every social reason to simply agree or stay neutral, the love that is producing that defense is the real kind. The second thing is this: she shows him her completely unmanaged self. This one requires understanding something specific about how women manage their presentation and why genuine love is the only thing that consistently dismantles that management. From a very young age, women learn to manage how they appear, emotionally, physically, socially. This management is not vanity. It is the outcome of social systems that have historically been more critical of female imperfection than male imperfection. The management is rational, and it persists in most relationships, even warm, close, genuine relationships, because the cost of being seen in an unmanaged state feels higher than the benefit of the closeness that vulnerability might produce. Genuine love changes this calculation entirely, not because the woman decides to be more vulnerable, but because the specific safety that profound love creates, the neurological experience of complete trust in a specific person's acceptance, makes the management feel unnecessary in a way it never has before. She cries in front of him, not the composed, one-tier version that most women reserve for emotional moments in public. The ugly version, the full, uncontrolled, nothing-managed version that she would never allow most people to see. She appears in front of him at her most physically unglamorous without any anxiety about the impression. She expresses anger, frustration, confusion, the full range of emotional experience unedited, because the love that has formed has produced a safety so complete that there is nothing left to protect herself from. Brené Brown's research on vulnerability and connection established that this complete removal of protective presentation only occurs in the presence of a specific form of trust, not general trust, the specific trust of someone who has been genuinely, completely accepted by another person, and the removal of management, the full appearance of the unmanaged self, is the behavioral evidence that this trust has been established at its deepest available level. The third thing is this: she quietly reorganizes her life around him without being asked. This behavior is the most subtle on the list, and it is the one that produces the most significant evidence of genuine love because it requires no request, no negotiation, and no awareness on his part. When a woman loves someone deeply, her priorities reorganize, not dramatically, not with announcements, quietly, gradually, and in ways that she often does not fully consciously register until the reorganization has already occurred. She finds herself scheduling things differently, leaving space in her week that she did not previously leave, making decisions that optimize for his presence in her life rather than other factors, choosing options that work with the reality of including him rather than the reality of not including him. Research from relationship psychologist John Gottman at the University of Washington, whose 4 decades of studying couple behavior produced foundational findings in the field, identified what he calls positive sentiment override, the state in which a person's overall positive assessment of their partner causes them to consistently accommodate that person's presence and needs in ways that feel natural rather than sacrificial. The reorganization does not feel like sacrifice. It feels like preference. The key marker of this behavior, the thing that distinguishes it from ordinary accommodation, is the absence of expectation for reciprocity. She reorganizes her life because she wants him in it, not because she expects him to notice or acknowledge the reorganization. The behavior is not strategic. It is the motivational drive of genuine love producing the adjustment automatically. When she has shifted her life to make space for someone without being asked and without expecting credit, when the space for him in her priorities appeared without a conversation requiring it, the love producing that shift is the real kind. The fourth thing is this: she gets genuinely afraid of losing him. This behavior is the one that most men misread as neediness or insecurity, and the research on what it actually indicates is both surprising and significant. When genuine love is present, the specific motivational drive that Fisher's neurological research identifies as activating the brain's reward systems, the prospect of losing the object of that drive produces a response that the brain processes similarly to physical threat. The fear of loss in genuine love is not an anxiety disorder. It is the nervous system accurately registering that something of genuine vital importance is at stake. A woman who loves someone madly experiences fear in relation to him, not paranoia, not constant anxiety, but specific, genuine, involuntary fear that appears in moments when the possibility of losing him becomes salient, when something in their dynamic shifts unexpectedly, when he goes quiet for longer than usual, when a conversation does not end the way it usually ends. This fear produces behaviors. She reaches out when she would normally wait. She asks questions she would normally manage her curiosity about. She says things that are more honest about how much he matters than she would normally allow herself to be. And she is often slightly embarrassed about these behaviors afterward because they revealed more than the managed version of herself would have chosen to reveal. John Bowlby's attachment research describes this precisely. The activation of the attachment system in response to perceived threat of loss is the clearest available evidence that genuine attachment has formed. The fear is not a problem. It is the measurement of the love. You cannot be afraid of losing something that doesn't matter enough to fear losing. The fifth thing is this: she adopts his interests genuinely. This behavior is frequently dismissed as performance. She's just pretending to care about what he cares about. The research on why this happens says otherwise. Aron's self-expansion theory proposes that one of the primary motivations in human psychology is the expansion of the self, the addition of new perspectives, capabilities, and experiences. And his research found that people in genuine romantic love show a measurable expansion of self-concept that includes the interests, abilities, and perspectives of the person they love. They do not just learn about their partner's interests, they genuinely begin to find them interesting. When a woman loves someone deeply, his interests become interesting to her, not as a performance of interest, but as a genuine response to the self-expansion that love has produced. The thing he is passionate about becomes something she finds herself genuinely curious about, because understanding it means understanding him more completely, and understanding him more completely is what the love in her drives her toward. She watches things she would never have watched before and finds herself genuinely engaged. She asks questions about topics she previously had no investment in and genuinely wants to know the answers. The interest is real. And it is real not because she performed it into existence, but because the expansion of self that genuine love produces brought it into existence. The sixth thing is this: she tells him things she has never told anyone. This behavior is the most intimate confirmation of genuine love on this list. And understanding why requires understanding something specific about what genuine love creates. Every person carries things they have not shared with most people. Not necessarily dramatic secrets, the specific interior formative experiences that made them who they are in ways that are difficult to put into words and impossible to share without a level of trust that most relationships never reach. These things stay unshared not because of shame, but because sharing them requires the specific safety of someone who will receive them without judgment and without using them as leverage. Genuine love creates that safety, not general warmth, not deep friendship. The specific safety of loving someone and being loved in return, the safety of having been completely accepted in a way that removes the protection that kept the unshared things unshared. When she tells him the things she has never told anyone, when the story comes out that has lived only in her, she is doing something she could not have done with anyone who had not reached the specific threshold of her trust that genuine love establishes. And the decision to share is not conscious or strategic. It happens because the love has made the carrying alone feel less necessary than the sharing. The seventh and final thing is this: she looks at him when she doesn't think he's looking. This is the quietest behavior on this list, and the one she will not consciously recognize herself doing. When love is genuine and consuming, the attention system of the brain orients toward the person loved automatically and continuously. Helen Fisher's research found that people in genuine love show what she calls focused attention, a neurological state in which resources of attention are disproportionately allocated to one specific person, often without the person being aware that this reallocation is occurring. The behavioral output of this focused attention is the involuntary gaze. She looks at him in moments when there is no social reason to look. No conversational occasion that directs attention toward him. No particular thing happening that would explain why his face is where her eyes have gone. She looks because the love has made him the default orientation of her attention, and the orientation happens automatically. This is the behavior she will not consciously recognize because it occurs below the level of intention. It is not a romantic gesture she is choosing to make. It is the attention system doing what it does when genuine love has established one person as the primary priority of all available attention. When someone who cares about both of them mentions that she looks at him in moments when he is not looking, in the specific way that communicates something that the conversation they are having does not, the love producing that gaze is the most genuine kind available. Here is what all 7 of these behaviors share. Each one is the behavioral output of a neurological state. The specific motivational drive that Helen Fisher's research identifies as genuine love that produces these behaviors automatically, involuntarily, and without conscious decision. She does not choose to defend him in his absence. She does not choose to show him her unmanaged self. She does not choose to reorganize her life around him, fear losing him, adopt his interests, share what she has never shared, or look at him when he isn't looking. The love produces all of these. The behaviors are the evidence that the love is real. 7 things, all of them the behavioral output of the same internal state, all of them impossible to fully manufacture without the state that generates them, and all of them, when present together, forming a picture of something that is genuine, complete, and as unmistakable as anything in the psychology of human love. Before this video ends, there is a companion to everything we just covered that you genuinely need to see. We just covered what a woman does when she loves someone madly. But here is the question that lives underneath all 7 behaviors. How do you know when you are receiving these things and recognizing them for what they are? Because the most painful version of this situation is not failing to receive these behaviors. It is receiving them and not knowing what you received. Reading the reorganized priority as normal consideration. Reading the unmanaged self as her just being comfortable. Reading the involuntary gaze as coincidence. Missing the complete picture because nobody ever laid out what the complete picture looks like. The video on your screen right now covers the physical dimension of the same love, what it communicates through the body, through the specific hug types that only appear when genuine love has been established, through the transmission that physical contact makes when the internal state producing it is the deepest available. It is called When a Woman Hugs You. This is what she's really telling you. Today's video covered what she does. That video covers what she feels when she holds you. Both together is the complete picture. Watch it now.